The door to room 1508 was not fully closed. It was just slightly open, like someone left in a hurry, or like the room itself was trying to breathe. A hotel worker stood in the hallway, shaking. His master key card trembled between his fingers. Behind him, 2 security guards argued in whispers. Maybe he's asleep. No. I heard a thud. The worker pushed the door wider. A sharp smell hit them, expensive cologne mixed with something sour, like fear. The curtains were half open, and Lagos city lights poured in, making long shadows on the carpet. A man lay on the floor. He was not moving. His white shirt was open at the neck. His watch still shined like it had never seen a hard day. His phone lay face down near his hand, screen cracked. A glass cup was tipped over on the table, dripping a slow line of water onto a stack of papers. And right there on the bed was a red scarf, bright, soft, and neatly folded, like it had been placed on purpose. One guard stepped forward, then froze. "Sir," he called. No answer. The second guard rushed to the man and checked his neck. His eyes widened. He's dead. The hotel worker covered his mouth. His knees almost gave out. Then the guard did something that made the air turn colder. He pointed at the bedside table. "There's only one name on the visitor log," he said. He read it slowly, as if saying it could bring trouble into the room. Susan. The moment the name left his mouth, everyone in the hallway seemed to stiffen, like they had heard it before. And they had. Because Susan was the woman people in Lagos talked about in secret. Some men laughed about her. Some men bragged about her. Some men called her cheap. They said she was the type of woman who never said no, the type that walked into a man's life and walked out like it meant nothing. They said she did not ask for commitment. They said she did not ask for love. They said she was easy. But none of them truly knew her. Outside the hotel, police cars arrived fast. Blue and red lights washed over the glass doors. Phones came out. People started recording. A crowd formed like it always does in Lagos, hungry for a story. Inside, detectives moved through the room with gloves and careful eyes. They took pictures. They asked questions. They wrote notes. Then the lead detective turned to the hotel manager. "Who was the last person seen with him?" he asked. The manager swallowed hard. "A woman," he said. "She left around 11:14 p.m. What did she look like?" The manager's voice lowered. "Tall. Slim. Calm. She wore a simple black dress and she had a red scarf." The detective's pen paused. "Name?" he asked again, even though he already knew. The manager's eyes flicked toward the red scarf on the bed. "Susan." A junior officer opened a laptop right there in the hallway and began searching. It did not take long. Susan's name was already floating around on blogs and gossip pages. No last name, just Susan. Photos taken from far away. Comments full of anger and jokes. "She's a gold digger. That one is cheap. She ruins men. Every rich man has a Susan story." The detective looked at the screen and frowned. "Find her," he said. 2 streets away, Susan sat in the back seat of a ride-hailing car. She was not crying. Her hands were not shaking. Her face was calm, like quiet water. The driver kept checking the mirror, nervous. "Madam," he said, clearing his throat, "are you okay? You look like you have seen something." Susan's eyes stayed on the road ahead. Lagos at night was loud, even when you sat behind a closed window. Horns. Music. Shouting. The city never fully slept. "I'm fine," she said. The driver nodded slowly, but he did not believe her. Susan did not blame him. Most people thought calm meant guilt. Or madness. Or both. Her phone buzzed once. Unknown number. She stared at it. It stopped. Then it buzzed again. Unknown number. She answered without saying hello. Silence. No breathing. No voice. Just a line so quiet it felt like a wall. Susan's fingers tightened around the phone. She did not speak. After 5 seconds, the call ended. The driver's voice came again, small and worried. "Madam, maybe you should block Susan cut him off gently. Keep driving. Her phone buzzed again. A message this time. Stop. Susan read it once. Then she smiled, not a happy smile. A sharp one, like a blade. Because the message told her one thing, she was getting close. People in Lagos did not know Susan's real story. They did not know that years ago, she had a sister. Her sister's name was Grace. Grace had come to Lagos with big dreams and soft hope. Grace believed hard work could beat anything. Grace believed people were mostly good. Then one night, Grace died. They called it an accident. They said she slipped. They said she made a mistake. But Susan knew Grace. Grace was careful. Grace was not careless. And when Susan asked questions, people shut doors in her face. A nurse suddenly forgot. A guard never saw anything. A friend stopped picking her calls. Then a man in a fine suit came to Susan's mother's house and dropped an envelope on the table. Money. A lot of it. With one sentence, let it go. Susan did not let it go. She held that pain like a stone in her chest. She carried it into every day. And when she finally learned one hard truth, it changed everything. The men tied to Grace's death were powerful. They had money, friends, and police protection. But they had one weakness. They underestimated women they thought had no value. So Susan became the kind of woman they would not respect. The kind they would not fear. The kind they would not suspect. The car slowed at a red light. Susan's phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, it was not a warning. It was a photo. A photo of Susan, taken from behind, sitting in the car. Taken just seconds ago. Under the photo were 4 words that made her blood turn cold. We are behind you. Susan's calm face did not break. But her eyes sharpened. Because when she glanced at the driver's mirror, she saw a black SUV rolling up behind them, headlights off. And the red light turned green. The traffic light turned green. The driver stepped on the gas. But the black SUV behind them did not slow down. It stayed close. Too close. Susan watched it through the mirror, her face still calm, her mind racing. Lagos traffic could hide many things, but not fear. She felt it now, not loud, not wild, but sharp and focused. Madam, the driver said softly, that car. It's been following us since the hotel area. Susan nodded. Don't panic, she said. Just drive normal. The driver laughed nervously. Normal? In Lagos? Susan did not answer. Her phone buzzed again. Turn left. She did not need to ask who sent it. She looked ahead. The next left turn led into a narrow street, dark and quiet, lined with locked shops and sleeping dogs. Take the left, Susan said. The driver hesitated. That place is not safe at night. It's fine, she replied. Trust me. He turned. The street swallowed them. The black SUV followed. The driver's breathing grew fast. Madam, I don't like this. Susan leaned forward. Stop the car, she said. What? Stop. Now. Before he could argue, she opened her door, stepped out, and closed it gently. Her heels clicked once on the road. The driver froze. The SUV slowed to a stop 10 meters away. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a door opened. A tall man stepped out. Dark clothes. Cap pulled low. His face stayed in shadow. Susan, he called. His voice was calm, almost polite. You are making things hard. Susan crossed her arms. You found me fast. He smiled. You left a trail. I wanted you to, she said. That made him pause. You should have run, he said. Susan shook her head. Running is for people who are afraid. The man took one step closer. And you are not afraid? Susan looked straight at him. No. Because I know something you don't. His smile faded just a little. Behind him, another man stepped out of the SUV. Then another. 3 in total. Susan counted them quietly. The first man spoke again. You were seen leaving the hotel. A man is dead. The police are looking for you. Yes, Susan said. I know. You think staying calm makes you smart? No, she replied. Being prepared does. She reached into her bag. The men tensed. She pulled out her phone. She tapped the screen and held it up. The man frowned. What is that? A copy, Susan said. Of everything. Silence fell. What everything? The second man asked. Susan smiled softly. If anything happens to me, she said, that file goes live. To the police. To the press. To people who ask questions. The first man stared at her. His jaw tightened. You are bluffing. Susan tilted her head. Try me. A long second passed. Then the man stepped back. Get in your car, he said. Susan did not move. Go home, he added. This ends tonight. Susan laughed. It was quiet, but sharp. No, she said. This ends when the truth comes out. The man's eyes hardened. You think you are special? No, Susan said. I think you made a mistake. She turned and walked back to the ride-hailing car without looking back. The driver stared at her like she was not human. Drive, she said calmly. The car pulled away. In the mirror, the black SUV stayed still. For now. The next morning, Lagos woke up angry. Blogs exploded with headlines. Rich man found dead. Mystery woman vanishes. Who is Susan? Last woman seen with the dead man speaks? Susan sat in a small apartment she had rented under a different name. The curtains were drawn. The TV played softly in the background. She watched her own face appear on the screen. Blurry photos. Bad angles. Lies wrapped in bold words. She used him. She trapped him. She's cheap. Susan muted the TV. She opened her laptop. Folders filled the screen. Names. Dates. Hotels. Messages. Voice notes. Every man who had laughed at her. Every man who thought she was nothing. Each one had talked too much. Each one had slipped. Susan's phone rang. This time, the number was not hidden. Daniel. She answered. You're in trouble, he said without greeting. I know, Susan replied. The police are looking for you. I know. Daniel lowered his voice. The men you are playing with are dangerous. Susan leaned back. They were dangerous long before I met them. Daniel sighed. You should leave Lagos. No, Susan said again. Why? He asked. Susan's eyes dropped to a photo on her desk. Grace. Smiling. Alive. Because my sister never got the chance to leave, Susan said. Silence filled the call. Then Daniel spoke slowly. Someone leaked something this morning. Susan's fingers stilled. What kind of something? A video, he said. From the hotel. It shows you entering the room. And it cuts off right before the man collapsed. Susan closed her eyes. That means they're trying to frame me, she said. Yes, Daniel replied. And worse. What's worse? Daniel hesitated. The police just announced, he said, that they're issuing a warrant. Susan opened her eyes. For who? She asked. For your arrest. At that exact moment, Susan heard a sound outside her door. Footsteps. Heavy. Stopping right in front of her apartment. Then a knock. Slow. Firm. Final. Susan stood up. And smiled. Because this was exactly what she had been waiting for. The knock came again. Slow. Heavy. Certain. Susan stood still in the middle of the room, listening. Her heart did not race, but her body was alert, like a door already open. She glanced at the small clock on the wall. 6:42 a.m. Early enough for the police. Late enough for mistakes. She moved quietly, turned off the TV, and slid her laptop into her bag. She did not rush. Rushing was for people who had not planned ahead. The knock came a third time. Police, a voice called. Open the door. Susan took a deep breath and opened it. Two officers stood there. One tall, one shorter. Both looked tired. Behind them, two more men waited by the stairs. "Good morning," Susan said calmly. The tall officer blinked. He had expected fear. Tears. Anger. Not calm. "Susan," he said, "you need to come with us." She nodded. Of course. That surprised him even more. As they walked down the stairs, neighbors peeked through half-open doors. Phones came out. Whispers followed her like smoke. "That's her. The cheap one. The woman from the hotel." Susan kept her eyes forward. Outside, the sun was already hot. A small crowd had gathered. A woman shouted, "Shameless." A man laughed and shook his head. Susan did not react. She had learned something important in Lagos. Noise was not power. Silence was. At the station, they placed Susan in a small room with a table and two chairs. A camera blinked red. The tall officer sat across from her. He placed a file on the table and opened it. "Do you know why you're here?" he asked. "Yes," Susan replied. "Then tell me," he said. She met his eyes. "Because a rich man is dead, and I am an easy story." He frowned. "Easy." "You already decided who I am," Susan said. "So the story writes itself." The officer leaned back. "You were the last person seen with him." "Yes." "You left shortly before he died." "Yes." "And witnesses say you left calmly," he said. "Too calmly." Susan smiled slightly. "I didn't kill him," she said. "Then who did?" he asked. Susan shook her head. "Not yet." The officer's jaw tightened. "This is not a game." "I know," Susan said softly. "My sister died playing by the rules." That made him pause. He closed the file. "You keep mentioning your sister." "She's the reason I'm here," Susan replied. "Explain," he said. Susan leaned forward. "Do you know how many women die quietly in this city?" she asked. "How many stories get buried because the men involved are important?" The officer did not answer. Susan continued. "Years ago, my sister came to Lagos. She trusted the wrong people. One night, she never came home." "Is this relevant?" he asked. "It's everything," Susan said. Before he could respond, the door opened. A man in a dark suit stepped in. He did not introduce himself. He did not look at Susan. He leaned close to the officer and whispered something. The officer's face changed. He stood up. "We're done for now," he said. Susan raised an eyebrow. "Already?" "You'll be moved," he said shortly. "Where?" she asked. He did not answer. They did not take her to a cell. They took her upstairs. To an office with air conditioning and soft chairs. A man waited inside. He was older. Clean-shaven. Calm. His watch alone could buy Susan's apartment 10 times over. "Susan," he said gently. "Please sit." She did. "My name is Robert," he said. "I'm here to help you." Susan studied him. "Help me do what?" "End this," Robert said. "Before it gets worse." Susan crossed her legs. "It just started." Robert smiled sadly. "You're very brave." "No," Susan said. "I'm very tired." Robert folded his hands. "You have a reputation," he said. Susan nodded. "So I hear." "Men talk," Robert continued. "They say you walk into their lives and walk out like nothing matters." Susan leaned closer. "Men talk when they feel safe." Robert sighed. "You've made powerful people nervous." "That was the plan," Susan replied. His eyes sharpened. "Then you understand the danger." "Yes." "Good," he said. "Then understand this, you will not win." Susan smiled again. "You said the same thing to my sister," she said. The room went quiet. Robert's face froze. For the first time, he looked directly at her. "You knew Grace," Susan said calmly. "You were at the hotel the night she died." Robert stood up slowly. "You should be careful," he warned. I am, Susan said. I record everything. Robert's eyes flicked to her bag. You think evidence will save you? He asked. I think truth lasts longer than money, Susan replied. Robert laughed once. You're wrong. He walked to the door. As he reached for the handle, he paused. You're free to go, he said. For now. Susan stood. As she walked past him, she whispered, You shouldn't have let me in. Outside, Susan stepped into the heat. Her phone buzzed immediately. A new message. They know you know. She typed back one word. Good. Then her phone rang again. This time, it was Daniel. They released you? He asked, shocked. Yes, Susan said. That's bad, Daniel replied. That means someone powerful stepped in. Susan looked across the street. A black SUV was parked there. Same one. Engine running. Windows dark. I know, she said quietly. And as she watched, the SUV door opened. Someone stepped out. And Susan recognized him instantly. Because he was supposed to be dead. Susan did not move. The man standing beside the black SUV adjusted his jacket and looked around like a person who owned the street. People walked past him without noticing. In Lagos, wealth made men invisible. He lifted his face. Their eyes met. Susan's breath stayed steady, but her chest tightened. Michael. The man everyone believed was dead. The man whose name appeared on the hotel report. The man whose death had pulled police, media, and fear into her life like a storm. And now he was standing there. Alive. Watching her. Michael smiled slowly, as if they were old friends who had planned to meet. Susan turned and walked. She did not run. Running would confirm fear. She crossed the road, entered a busy shopping complex, and blended into the crowd. Music played from speakers. Vendors shouted prices. Children laughed. Normal life. Behind her, footsteps followed. Not rushed. Confident. Michael caught up with her near a clothing store. Relax, he said calmly. If I wanted you taken, it would have happened already. Susan stopped and faced him. You staged your own death. Michael shrugged. People believe what fits the story. And the story was me, Susan said. Yes, he replied without shame. You were perfect. Susan stared at him. Why? Michael leaned closer. Because someone needed to take the fall. And you were already misunderstood. Susan's jaw tightened. My sister trusted you. Michael's smile faded. Your sister asked too many questions. That sentence hit harder than a slap. Susan stepped closer. You killed her. Michael's eyes flicked around. Careful, he said. We're in public. You killed her, Susan repeated. Michael exhaled. I didn't plan it, he said. She was supposed to stay quiet. Susan's hands curled into fists. Like you expect me to. Michael nodded. Exactly. They stood there, surrounded by noise and movement, while the truth sat between them like a loaded weapon. You think exposing us will fix anything? Michael asked. Men like me don't fall. We land on softer ground. Susan smiled. You underestimate gravity. Michael laughed. You always did think you were smarter. I didn't think, Susan said. I prepared. She reached into her bag slowly. Michael's hand dropped to his side, where a weapon could be hidden. Susan pulled out her phone. She tapped the screen and turned it toward him. A list appeared. Names. Photos. Voice recordings. Bank transfers. Hotel footage. Michael's smile disappeared. You recorded me, he said quietly. And everyone else, Susan replied. You all talk too much when you think a woman has no worth. Michael's voice dropped. You don't get to walk away from this. Susan leaned closer. I already have. She turned and walked into the crowd. This time, Michael did not follow. That night, Susan changed locations again. A small room. No windows. Clean. Quiet. She sat on the bed and connected her laptop to the internet through a secure network. Folders opened one by one, each labeled carefully. Michael, Robert, others. Men who had laughed at her. Men who had touched her without knowing they were being watched. Her phone rang. Daniel. He's alive, Susan said before he could speak. Daniel swore softly. Then the death was fake. Yes, she replied. And the real crime is bigger. You're in danger, Daniel said. You should leave the country. Susan closed her eyes. Not yet. Why? Daniel asked. Because I'm almost done. A message appeared on her screen. Unknown, you think you've won. Another message followed. Unknown, tomorrow ends this. Susan typed back slowly. Susan, tomorrow tells the truth. She placed the phone down and stared at the ceiling. Grace's face filled her mind. Grace laughing. Grace trusting. Grace dying alone while powerful men cleaned their hands. Susan whispered, I didn't forget. The next morning, Lagos woke up to sirens. Not police sirens. Ambulances. Outside a private office building, reporters gathered. Someone important had collapsed. Someone connected. Susan watched the news from her room. She saw Michael being helped into a vehicle, pale and shaking. Not dead. Not safe. Her laptop chimed. A final folder finished uploading. She hovered her finger over the last command. One click. Everything would go out. The press. The police. The world. Her phone rang again. This time, it was not Daniel. It was Michael. His voice trembled. Susan, we can still talk. Susan smiled softly. Too late, she said. Her finger pressed down, and the power in the room went out. Total darkness. The laptop screen went black. Her phone died in her hand. And behind her, in the dark, a voice whispered, You should have finished when you had the chance. The room was silent. Too silent. Susan stood frozen in the darkness, her phone dead in her hand, her laptop useless on the table. Lagos never went quiet like this. Not even during blackouts. There was always noise. Always life. But now, there was only breathing. Not hers. Someone else's. Turn around slowly, the voice said. Susan did. A man stood near the door. Tall. Broad. His face was hidden, but his voice was calm. Too calm for someone standing in the dark with power. You were very close, he said. That was impressive. Susan did not scream. You cut the power, she said. Yes, he replied. Temporary. You won't stop it, she said. The files are already out. The man smiled. Not yet. He stepped forward. You underestimated how fast we move. Susan met his eyes. You underestimated how far I planned. The man tilted his head. Explain. Susan reached into her bag slowly. He stiffened. Careful. She pulled out a small device and held it up. A timer, she said. Everything you saw uploading? That was only half. The man's smile faded. At exactly 8 a.m., Susan continued, the rest goes live. To news stations outside Nigeria. To people you don't control. The man checked his watch. 7:58 a.m. For the first time, fear crossed his face. You think you're untouchable, Susan said quietly. That's why my sister died. The man stepped back. Grace was an accident. No, Susan said. She was inconvenient. The room lights suddenly flickered back on. Then the TV came alive. Every channel. Every screen. Breaking news banners filled the room. Massive scandal exposed. Secret network of rich men linked to multiple deaths photos flashed. Michael. Robert. Others. Hotel footage. Bank transfers. Voice recordings played, clear, sharp, undeniable. The man turned slowly toward the TV. It's over, Susan said. Outside, sirens exploded across the city. This time, police sirens. Lots of them. The man ran. Susan did not chase him. She picked up her phone. It powered back on. Messages flooded in. Calls. Alerts. Daniel's name appeared. It's everywhere, he said, breathless. International news. The police are arresting people. Michael collapsed again, this time for real. Susan closed her eyes. Grace. You did it, Daniel said. Susan shook her head. No. I finished it. She packed her bag calmly. She wiped the table clean. She left nothing behind. 3 days later, Lagos was still shaking. Men who once ruled rooms were dragged into courtrooms. Money failed. Influence broke. Names fell. People argued online. Some still blamed Susan. She slept with them. She used her body. She was cheap. Susan read none of it. Because Susan was already gone. No one saw her leave. No goodbye. No headline. Just silence. Somewhere far from Lagos, Susan sat by a window, watching the sun rise. She held a small photo in her hand. Grace. I kept my promise, Susan whispered. She stood up. She walked forward. And the world never saw her again. Thank you for listening. What is your view about this story? Let us know in the comment section. Kindly like, comment and subscribe to our channel.